Welcome to Trail Time Stories. We hope you enjoy the scenery as we read stories that step out of the normal day-to-day mundane routine and help put ourselves in the character of those that have been briefly pulled from their sanctuary of safety and all too often times their sanity. If you like the content, please like and subscribe as there will be much more content in the near future.
The following true ghost stories were posted on yourghoststories.com. Story number 1 was posted by Mary Kay, 1683, on August 17, 2018. The first time I saw the house I would eventually grow up in, I was 6 or 7 years old. My older brother, by 2 years, was with me. While my parents looked inside the house, my brother and I explored outside. Our backyard, about half an acre, ended at a wooded area, and we had a chain link fence separating our yard from the woods. We met some cows at our fence that were very friendly. I never had any bad feelings while exploring. When we actually moved in, my mother told me I would tell her there were people in my closet, and I was scared. My mom figured it was just my fear of being in a new place. I remember sleeping in my parents' bedroom for a while after we moved in. Then one day I told my mom that it was okay. The people in my closet were friendly, and I talked to them. I don't remember this. As time went on, little things would occur. The TV would turn off by itself, lights would turn off by themselves, but nothing scary or definitive enough to say our house was haunted. Everything could be explained logically. My parents divorced when I was 13. My mom and her boyfriend would go out a lot, and my 2 older brothers were always out too. I was home alone a lot by this point, and I was a scaredy cat, and I didn't like being home alone. I guess I had read too many ghost stories, lol. I had been out with a friend one night, and my mom, her boyfriend, and brothers were gone too. I came home to what I thought was an empty house. The house is a tri-level. The main level had a living room, kitchen, 3 bedrooms, and a bath upstairs, a den, bed, bath, utility room downstairs. My bedroom was upstairs, directly in front of the stairway. My mom's bedroom was to the left if you were coming up the stairs. So anyway, I get home and go inside. I turn on the hall light and start going upstairs. Our hound dog was at my mom's bedroom door going crazy. She would only do that if someone was in there. I assumed that my mom was home, but I didn't want to wake her up by knocking on the door. I went back downstairs, turned off the hall light, and I could see her light was on by seeing the light coming from under the door. I went back upstairs and knocked on her door. Nothing. The dog was still going crazy. I went to the garage, and sure enough, my mom's car was gone. I was too scared to open my mom's door because at this point I thought someone had broken in. Before jumping the gun and calling 911, because I knew my mother would be furious if I did, I called my mom at her friend's house and asked if she had left the light on. She said no, but after realizing how scared I was, she lied and told me her boyfriend had to just go and turn it off. I went upstairs, opened the door, and the light was off. I jumped the stairs and ran outside, refusing to go back in until someone else got home. There was no sign of a break-in. My mom never took me seriously when I told her the house was haunted. I thought I was crazy and would never talk to anyone about this stuff. Eventually, I started finding people that also had experiences, and I was able to open up about my own experiences. I am very happy to have found YGS. Thanks for reading. Story number 2 was posted by Mary Kay, 1683, on August the 13th, 2018. The first paranormal experience I ever had was at the age of 8. I had been really close to an elderly male neighbor who was dying of lung cancer. We would always walk around the neighborhood together, but I didn't know he was sick. I was too young to truly understand what was going on, and my parents weren't very helpful. I came home from school one day and saw a hearse in my neighbor's driveway. I didn't exactly know what that was at the time, but I knew it meant bad news. I ran from my house to his and was told by his wife that her husband had passed away. I was devastated. My parents took me to the calling, which was really hard at 8 years old. Not that it gets much easier with age. I remember he was wearing all white and he looked like he was sleeping. His wife, to whom I became close to, hugged me and comforted me. She told me he was in heaven and not suffering anymore. I'm not sure how much time passed since the calling, but I don't think it was more than a month. My older cousin decided to sleep over. Instead of sleeping in my bedroom, we slept in the lower level of my house, the den, along with my 2 older brothers. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up and looked over at the couch that was nearby. I saw my neighbor sitting there watching me. He was all white and transparent. He just sat there with his legs crossed like it was no big deal. I was scared for whatever reason and hid my head under my blankets. When I looked back, he was gone. I never saw him again after that. I'm sure he was just letting me know that he was okay. I know it's possible I was dreaming, but I don't think so. Thanks for reading. Story number 3 was posted by the Black Rose 28 on May the 11th, 2018. First off, I would like to apologize in advance how long this story is. There are several events that happened over a few years. My name is Rose, and I'm in high school. The first experience happened when I was 5. I had just moved into a new house in a different part of Indiana, a move that I did not want as I was leaving my friends, I might add. When I was a kid, I would always take a bath with the door open, so I did not feel alone. My mom would have me bathe upstairs while she was downstairs with my dad watching TV. Sometimes, when I was in the bath, a shadow man with a fedora would slowly glide past the door. I would always get this feeling of dread and being terrified. This happened every day in broad daylight, mind you. I don't remember when it started happening. I just remember being 5 and noticing it happening. When I told my mom, she said I was just seeing floaters and eyes just do that. She said they usually just look like circles and are small, but mine could be different. This went on for a while until I was so tired of being terrified all the time and complained to both my parents. Once more, my dad said, draw what I was seeing. When I drew the picture of a black shadow in a trench coat and fedora, they started closing my door when I would bathe, and everything was quiet for a while. Then some years later, when I was 12, about to be 13, as I was lying in my bed in the dark with the door cracked, I saw a shadow sprint by. Now, normally I was afraid of the dark, still kind of am, and slept with my lights on, but I wanted to get over it. My mom was up working, so at first I thought it was just her. Then I realized there was no reason for her to be running, and she cannot run that fast. Although I don't know what I had seen, I was sure it wasn't my mom at that point. I was very tired, however, and I felt no real fear this time, so I just went to sleep. I thought nothing of it, but the next day my mom got a panic attack. It had been triggered by seeing a shadow figure sprint down the hallway whilst being in her bedroom. She called my name thinking it was me, but I was still downstairs watching Pretty Little Liars. My dad was outside cutting the grass, and we have a dog that would have gone crazy if it was a burglar or a thief. Knowing this, she went into a panic attack. I talked to her about it after she had calmed down, which is how I found out what triggered her. She also said she had seen something running down the hallway the night before, but assumed it was me, said my name, but I didn't respond. She thought nothing of it the night before. This made me remember what happened when I was 5, and she got a book of prayers and said them loudly upstairs with me while blessing the house. Fast forward to now. I'm in high school and some things are happening again. Neither my mom nor I have seen any shadow figures again, but I have heard muffled scream while sitting in my parents' room the other day, and my mom heard a muffled cry coming from the same place, their closet, a day or 2 after. Now, only a few more incidents have happened between the 7th grade and where I am now, but they are small paranormal incidents, and this story is long enough. Funny enough, all the things happening now have my mom totally freaked, whereas I try and pay not much mind to them. I suppose the roles have reversed. I just wanted to share this story, but anything anyone could give some insight into would be appreciated. My mom feels as though these are demons. I think they are nothing more than a residential haunting. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments, and thanks to everyone who read this far. Story number 4 was posted by Mommy21 on April 3rd, 2018. Need help, please. So I have always believed in the supernatural, but never have I ever experienced something until last night. Around 2:20 a.m., my boyfriend woke me up and told me that he was going to go into the back room with his mom. His brother and sister had come over to hang out, and he was going to see them just in the other room. I told him to put on a child's show called Phineas and Ferb for me before he went into the other room. I called it a good show to help me not have bad dreams. Also, just so no one says I was sleeping or dreaming, I remember where I was in the show and what episode I was watching. About 7 minutes after my boyfriend went into the other room, something blatantly smacked me. Yes, smacked me in the face enough to make my head turn. Keeping my head turned, I felt like this thing was still there, and I felt like it was behind me. I could not turn my head to look for another good 5 minutes. When I did, I got the hell out of there. Around 2:30 a.m., I went to the back room and told my boyfriend and his family. They told me it was weird because my boyfriend's mom was just telling them about how one day me and my boyfriend were going to go into our bedroom and she had saw a shadow, not ours, following us. Even though I told them this, not knowing they were talking about that and not knowing anything about the shadow incident, they think I will be, quote, okay, but I'm terrified to be in my own room alone. I'm scared to sleep. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I am 8 months pregnant, and if it can smack me like I could feel it choke me, and if it could choke me, I could die. I have never been so scared in my life. Never felt so hopeless. Like there is something that can hurt me, and there is nothing I can do about it. I need help. I am so scared. Story number 5 was posted by Mary Mom on March 31st of 2018. I always felt something unsettling in the 110-year-old house I moved into with my husband and babies in 1991, especially in the basement, which has crumbly fieldstone walls, low unfinished ceilings, and is creepy even when the sunlight is shining through the small windows. I always felt watched in the basement, felt hostility coming at me. My arm hairs stood on end, and I usually rushed up the stairs because it felt as if I were being pushed or pursued. I could only do laundry down there during the day. There was also cold spots in the rooms closest to the basement door. My husband laughed at me, so I didn't mention it to anyone else. We divorced 4 years later, and a year after, my new boyfriend actually brought up to me that he felt something and also heard the whooshing sound that only I had been hearing around 1 a.m. about 4 to 5 times a week. By then, my kids weren't babies anymore, and they also avoided the basement. After we got married, we had the electric service upgraded. My husband did most of it, but hired an electrician to tie everything into the new breaker box in the basement. We were all out of town and had given the electrician a key. He was doing the work after his regular job in the early evening. With a battery-operated floodlight, when we returned from an out trip, the work was not done, but the electrician's tools and floodlight were all near the breaker box. The key was left on the table by the front door. When we called, he said something was in our basement and didn't want him there, and we could leave his tools on the front porch. The second electrician came during the day, and it was fine. 3 years after that, we were having the attic and over half the house demolished and a half-story added. While this construction was going on, somebody loaned us a Ouija board, which we used after the kids were asleep. Our Dutch exchange student and his friend from France were there as well. My husband and I had the planchette, and the students wrote down what was spelled out. "Stop this, the noise is killing me," was the first thing it said. Nobody understood what he was talking about at first. We asked questions about gender, male, place of birth, Belgium. I thought my husband was moving the darn thing. He thought I was. But then the Dutch student started asking questions in his own language, because in Belgium they speak either Dutch or French. He or it answered in Dutch. I do not speak Dutch. My husband does not speak Dutch. This was a moment when I knew, really knew, that it wasn't just a creepy basement and maybe my imagination. I had always left room for doubt, so I didn't have to feel, like one of those people who believes they just have a ghost. I honestly did have a ghost. It scared me, it made me feel sick to my stomach and cold all over. A few more questions were answered. Date of birth, 1816. Came to America, 1836. Did it like my husband? No. Did it like me and the kids? Yes. It would respond to the Dutch student, but wanted the French kid to leave. Hated the French because they had killed his father in 1830. It spelled out a long sentence about the construction being a problem, and another, quote, "The noise is killing me." This was all in Dutch. When we asked him when he died, the planchette went off the edge of the board, and that was it. He would respond no more. I put the Ouija board on the porch outside and gave it back to its owners the next day. I will not allow another in my house, ever. The hair-prickling feelings, cold spots, and the whooshing noises all stopped. He had never came back. We think it's because of the construction. The house was ghost-free for 13 years. When somebody else moved in, it was a far more expressive entity, and that's a whole different story. And it was upstairs this time. We smudged the house with burning sage, spoke sternly to it, and spread salt trails around the perimeter of each room. When none of that worked, we called a Catholic priest, and it worked. He had to come back 6 months later, a completely different entity. It worked again. We have been ghost-free now for 6 years.
Thank you for watching and listening to today's video and story. We know your time is valuable and really do appreciate that you spent some of it with us today. If you haven't already, then please like and subscribe, as it helps us greatly. We hope to see you again soon. Have a great day or evening. Trail Time Stories out.